Welcome to our course project presentation for service design processes and methods. We have a case for Service Design Network Finland, mainly. We are Juliana and Tuuva, and we'd like to walk you through our project.
The main outcome of our project is a framework that serves as a guide for members and for chapter volunteers, so that they can ensure to deliver community value to members and especially inclusivity.
We are going to walk you through our process. So where we started off was a brief from SDN Finland. They had done some research, so we jumped in. We did some interviews with members. We had our own survey.
We wanted to find out, are members satisfied or not with their membership, and if they're not, what are the reasons?
We checked the numbers about members, anything related to that, what we could get from SDN. And we also checked through a recent SDN membership survey. So both surveys conveyed communication issues. Website is hard to understand. It's unclear if they are a local or global member. Lack of access to content, transparency issues. People were kind of feeling disconnected from the community in a way.
People felt a bit lost in what was their role, what they could get from the community, and how they could actually be active and participate within the community.
So these were our initial findings from our research. And we went back to SDN and kind of validated these findings, and also talked about prioritizations within the project. And then we went on to create a persona workshop. So the goal of that workshop was to identify who actually are the customers of the community. What are their jobs to be done? What are their pains and gains?
And also we wanted to focus on those members who are paying, right? Because there are also other members, community members, but who are these paying members of SDN?
Yeah. We found out that people are kind of happily members as long as they are student members with a lower fee, or when their company pays for them. So when it's time for them to actually pay for themselves, they maybe move into freelancing, go away from the corporate world, they don't feel the value anymore to pay more than 100 euros a year. For our workshop, we had 5 participants, a mix of non-members, ex-members, and members. Our aim was to come up with 2 personas, or for our teams to come up with 2 personas. And we could derive kind of a third one from these 2. So we got our outcome. So what we learned doing this workshop, well, what we used actually for the workshop planning was what we learned from Mark about making an Excel with times for the workshop, and that really served us well. And we actually left a buffer in the end, and in the end we kind of had the last task, we had kind of a really short mini version, a medium version, and a large version. So depending on the time where we were in the end, we could actually sort of choose which one.
We also learned that it's our actual participants asked for a parking lot that they could have afterwards, so that they continue adding ideas there. They were very good ideas, and they wanted to have this parking lot. Yes. And another thing was we gave them the clusters at the initial. So at the beginning, we had them kind of ideate and think about any type of professional workshop, network that they are part of, and think of the positive things and negative things. And we gave them topics. But in that way, they just went straight to the topics, and we missed them clustering these topics. So it forces them a bit to read the notes, and reading the notes helps them come up with new ideas. So we built personas. We gave them, based on our interviews, we gave them a task that this persona would need to do. And then they then came up with what is actually the more concrete job to be done of this person, pains, their gains, frustrations, and then we had them outline 2 key jobs to be done in a sentence where could help them visualize like what are our personas struggling with.
We had a really, well, we felt really that the workshop was a success. It was really nice to do it. And we held exactly by the minute on the time.
We debriefed our personas, and once we had the insights on the pains and the gains, we mapped them out in a value proposition canvas. We defined the personas in also persona canvases, and we decided to move forward and check in with SDN.
Yeah, we checked in again and planned kind of out our strategy to move forward. We presented them the findings of the persona workshop, decided of the direction, and we decided to actually explore the professional members because they make up 70% of the entire membership. And also, more importantly, also to focus on the retaining of existing members, not really getting new ones.
So something interesting that we found out from our conversation there with SDN was that they're actually doing a lot. They understand the problems that we saw during this workshop. They're planning to update their website platform. They're solving a lot of problems with the transparency, with communication, but there was an area to explore on the community and making members feel part of the community. They felt that that's something that could be explored further.
So next we started planning an ideation workshop to like base it on the personas and kind of ideate further.
Yes, and then base it on our how might we question. So from the personas, then we develop the findings into how might we help these 3 personas get their jobs done.
We planned a hybrid workshop. We actually were planning on doing on-site only, but it looked in the beginning that we might not get actually participants because everybody was wanting to participate online. So
we wanted to be inclusive because it's the main topic of the project.
Thankfully, we had a bit of help. So we had one group doing an online workshop and 2 groups on site. So on site, we were facilitating, and online, we had other volunteers from SDN volunteering and helping us. So we did first a mashup.
We decided to do it a bit out of the context. So we gave them 3 categories to think about. So first, we had them think about like what makes you feel included without more context than that. So they would brainstorm these first, and then we would tell them to mix it up with type of professions, and then was it spaces, right?
Yeah,
different spaces, like completely out of the box, like a swimming pool, a wedding.
Yes.
So that they would really think out of the box.
Yeah. Then we had them form the teams. So online was separate, but on site we had formed 2 teams. They had 1 persona each. They were using me, we, us ideation. So first themselves, then in pairs, and then all together. We gave them system maps, user journey maps, a few canvases sort of to use if they want.
So they chose an idea to develop further. And we gave them a bit of time to think on how to answer this how might we question for their specific persona. But we also gave them a few questions to serve as a guide. So to think more like the solution really holistically, and how could it be actually applicable and
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the source there was the magic triangle, so a bit like the desirability, feasibility, viability,
Yes.
that it's not just a fancy, nice, fluffy idea, but it actually has like some meat
Yes.
over the bones. But it was a really fruitful workshop. I mean, it was a hard evening
Yes.
doing a hybrid workshop. But we had in the end 28 good ideas. Yeah, a lot of learnings as well.
A lot of learnings
from the workshop. Thank God we had some help for especially the online.
Yeah, dedicated fully online facilitation is needed.
We realized that the online workshop was a totally different experience actually. So the on-site and the online, they didn't have kind of the same, and online was much quicker than on-site. On-site we had different rooms where we were not in the same space, so we couldn't see each other. We had to communicate by texting.
Yes, and this time we failed a bit to leave the buffer for the conversations. We had too tight schedule and we ran a bit late with our schedules. So yes, so what to do with all these ideas? So Tuuva and I think this was probably the 5th meeting we have had throughout the project.
Yeah.
Or more. We then got together and started clustering the ideas to find then affinity mapping to see which big topics came out from our ideas. And so from those clusterings, we realized one big one was a lot of people were thinking about icebreakers to help people connect in events. Also mixing people with a purpose, so very clearly like connect people based on what is their goal and what they are looking for. Also like goal topic specific events and have that very clear. What is the content of the events? What is the level of complexity of the topic that's going to be handled, if it's kind of for everyone or you need to be a bit more senior. Meaningful connections between members, and also like how to facilitate communication between members and like making it accessible to have spontaneous meetings or like making it more accessible to be an active member.
And next we had an ideas crunching meeting with SDN Global.
And a workshop.
It was a mini workshop actually, yeah. So we had a mini workshop to discuss the findings. We actually made this matrix, 2x2 matrix, by long-term value and feeling included in the community. And we arranged these sort of clustered topics based on that. And we had the SDN vote for the most valuable, most interesting, most important. And those were a welcome package and how can a member be active with little effort only, discussing case studies together, and just overall regular communications. And after that, we then decided that a playbook would cover most of these issues. And we
and they mentioned they had done one in the past.
They mentioned that, and that didn't work that well. It was a lot of work. A lot of information was gathered from the chapters. A lot of information was put into a nice looking handbook. But our idea of the playbook was more of a future-proof, editable playbook, kind of from everyone to everyone in a way, which enhances community feeling. So we made a prototype on Miro, and we had a survey also at the end of the prototype, which we got 4 answers on, and we shadowed 3 people.
And then the prototype, we decided to base it on how do we create value and how do we make it work.
What we found that people really want to have good search filters, that they don't have to go through everything. They want more dynamic content, not only text necessarily, but maybe short videos or short audio. They need someone to prompt them to interact with this. So it doesn't come naturally. It's just one more place to go to.
Some of the learnings from our prototype is we need to be more clear on the instructions. That was a clear feedback, that it wasn't very clear how it needed to be used. We used Miro, which maybe wasn't the best tool to use for that specific, because it didn't really mimic the functions and features that would actually happen in the real space.
As a deliverable, we are having a framework.
Yes, so from this prototype, based on the findings of this prototype and also from our previous findings, we kind of defined the 4 main nudges that actually, since our focus is to activate the members to be active and to really feel part of the community by giving some effort and getting something back. So how do we nudge them to be active? And we identified 4 key nudges. One, as Tuuva mentioned, prompting. Also offering multiple means and channels to stay active. Building content or sharing content through stories was a key one. So people repeatedly said that they want to hear the stories, the case studies, right? And also offering dynamic content, so that it's not just a static case study or a static even conversation that is archived somewhere, but you could easily find it and access it and curate it to your current life needs, because the SDN members, its situation changes across time. And then we kind of transferred these key nudges into 4 kind of main needs that we identified from our findings.
So they were regular communication, feeling welcomed, meaningful connections, and comprehensive contribution. So those 4, on top of those 4, in a way,
build the framework.
Exactly. And so basically, meaningful connections, how can we do that? By prompting, by stories, by dynamic content,
and by offering multiple channels. For example, video, audio, so not just text, right? So based on these needs that Tuuva was outlining, so those are the base of our framework. And then we also thought about providing like actionable tools to apply this framework. So we began developing like a sort of checklist or a document that is dynamic, that people can actually use easily and build on. We built a template on Notion where chapter leads and volunteers could actually track that these nudges are taken care of, that these 4 main topics are covered, and how to actually measure success. To ensure that actually there is somebody who is assigned and responsible to follow this through, that they know how to measure and have like clear success metrics, that they know which are the member-facing channels that are actually offering this to members, and that they know where to find the content that is needed to build this.
In a way, we had so many ideas gathered in the process, so we could not go with just one. So this is kind of a place where, in a way, all of them are kind of combined into a roadmap. Our next steps in the process are that we are going to further test for during the Service Design Day. So we have a booth there, and we are going to use some of the parts of the roadmap to test, as we were doing that with the prototype as well.
So now we tested, for example, comprehensive contribution. So our prototype focused mostly on building the space where people could share their learnings from event planning.
It has been a really nice project. We have had actually a lot of green light all the way from SDN Finland and global.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was our project. These are the conclusions, and we are very hopeful that this now expands and probably can be developed further, and even like as we hope, it's scalable to the other chapters, and it's something that could be used across the whole global and multiple networks. Yes.
Thank you.